And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, welcome to the Weighing In podcast, where we are lucky enough to have a guy that is a numbers man. He is a magic man with the numbers. He can pull out a bet when you are far behind. You listen to my man Ian Parker, and you are going to come out shining and being happy. My man, how you doing? Look at that ESPN MMA behind you. That's a nice little setup.
If I sit in the right spot, it actually looks like Mickey Mouse ears played into the whole Disney thing. So it's a really, it's kind of a weird design, right? It's like a weird Dalmatian Mickey Mouse thing. I appreciate you guys having me on here. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I love making people money. It's the best.
Well, John's going to need your help because I crushed him last week.
I knew he was going to bring this up. I knew it was going to happen.
That's exactly what we're here for, right?
And you heard what I said before we went live. Hey, Ian, I'm going to be calling you, brother.
Ian's going to need your help because he's getting smashed by me in football picks. Just nonstop.
One game.
Whatever.
The Green Bay quarterback love went down. Shush.
Don't try and flip the script. It sounds like spin to me, like Kamala Harris. Dial it down, buddy. Okay, sounds like spin. All right, look, let's go ahead and talk about this weekend's, obviously, the fights. That's why we got Ian on here, man. But I'm going to go over some odds on this fight. But on the main event, man, it's a pretty even fight. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Ian?
I think it's got to go one way or the other, right? We're all expecting Merab to do 300 double leg takedown attempts and land probably 6% of those. Can he do it without getting tagged? That's the question, right? Every fight we've seen Merab in, he's gotten rocked in the first round. He's been able to recover. Like, can he do that against such a good striker, an accurate striker with the length of Sugar Sean? That's the tough part for me. You know, this is one of those fights where I think Merab has to fight a 25-minute perfect fight, and Sean does not. That's where I think the difference is here. I think Sean's got an underrated ground game. It's not like Merab is sitting there fishing for submissions. We know he's got a good pace, but it's so hard when there's been guys like Marlon Moraes with Henry Cejudo that are not known for tagging people in round one, and Merab got dropped each time. Mm-hmm. Can he survive that against Sean O'Malley? I don't know if he can.
I'm not here to have you pick bets, but I'm here to have you kind of give me the breakdown. Like through BetUS, I got Merab at plus 105 and Sean O'Malley at minus 135. The over-under on it is 4.5. The over on it is 4.5 at minus 125, and the under is minus 105 at 4.5. I mean, do those odds seem real to you? Because, I mean, I'm looking at it too. I obviously think that Sean O'Malley is going to win this fight because, like you said, Merab's got to fight a perfect fight for all 5 rounds, and every round starts on the feet. He's got to get that takedown. He's got to control Sean O'Malley on the ground, and if he doesn't control him, he could end up getting submitted, or Sean could end up getting back up to his feet. There's a lot of ways that Sean could win this fight, but there's only really one, maybe 2 ways that Merab can win this fight.
I agree. What's interesting with the odds, when this fight first came out, Merab was actually a minus 125 favorite. So for all those that jumped on O'Malley plus money, that, in my opinion, was smart. I would bet O'Malley as high as minus 185. I thought that was what we were looking at, especially with O'Malley coming off. Look, I know the Cheeto Vera fight, Cheeto probably shouldn't have been in that title spot. Let's call it what it is. But prior to that, O'Malley knocking out Aljo. And Merab just doesn't finish people. It doesn't mean he's not a great fighter. Doesn't mean he's not the machine that he is. I think the odds where they are make more sense than O'Malley being the underdog. So, Josh, I don't disagree with you. I would lean the O'Malley side.
Yep.
Is out.
I'm not going to rule out the submission by Sean O'Malley as well because of the long limbs. The triangle will be there. The head will be in position for Merab to get triangled in those positions. Now, Merab's obviously going to probably power through it in the first rounds 2, maybe up to round 3. But as they start to get a little bit sweatier, they start to get a little bit easier and tired. I think that Sean has a good chance of locking in those long limbs. We saw it against Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. Those long limbs and the ability to attack that triangle from pretty much anywhere and lock it either way. He can lock it reverse triangle and he can lock it normal triangle and then make the transition and switch back into a real triangle. I mean, like, he's got ways to win from the ground, even when they're on the bottom. And that kind of leans, if there is a bookie out there that's doing the win by submission like they are at BetUS, I would say I would maybe even take a Sean O'Malley in that submission position in one of those rounds that you maybe feel comfortable with.
Shout you out from the top of a mountain in that situation, because look, you have been a champ, you're a successful fighter, you are great in every aspect of the sport, no doubt. I think Sean has the ability to get a sub. However, I think if that were to happen, it would be rocking him, taking his back, and getting either a rear naked or possibly a guillotine, which Sean's really good at. My concern about him with the triangle choke is that if he fails and Merab passes to the side, he could then take his back and then he could land some damage and possibly get a rear naked choke himself. Sean's got a long, skinny neck. But I agree with what you're saying. Sean is creative. He's got long limbs. It wouldn't even shock me if Merab kind of was baiting him to do that just to pass, just to get past those long legs so he didn't get rocked with an up kick. I'll tell you this, it's going to be an interesting fight. If Sean goes out there, though, and knocks him out, that's where I think now we have to start talking about Sean O'Malley as the superstar, because right now people are portraying him that way. I don't see it yet, but if he goes out there and sends this guy to the shadow realm, he's got my respect as a star.
How do you not see him at this point when you look at everything that he's done as far as the Dana White Contender Series comes in and then he starts taking on people? And when he decided, because I thought he was very smart as far as his contract, because look, the Dana White Contender Series contract is nothing you're going to make money off of.
Thank you.
And he did not want to, fight great competition while making that kind of money. He gets a new contract and right away he starts fighting guys that were really good. He takes on Peter Yan. You go and you look at that fight. He fought if there was one thing that impressed me in that fight, he was so calm.
Yeah.
For a guy that was fighting way up, because I believe at the time Peter Yan was number 1 and he was 11.
No, Peter was number 3, I think, at the time. 2 or 3. Yeah.
I was thinking he was still number 1. But whatever it was still a big jump and a huge jump as far as the level of competition. That was the first former champion that Sugar Sean was going to fight. He fought him so just relaxed, comfortable, smart, great fight for both. I'm not saying it wasn't a close fight, but it showed me something about, hey, this kid's got it. This kid really understands how to turn it on at the right times. And he's just done that since that fight. Every time he has stepped in the cage, he's performed.
He may look like Krusty the Clown, but he's got the IQ of Albert. He's got the IQ of Albert Einstein. There's no question there. He's a very smart guy. But when I look at people that are superstars right now, I'm looking at like Alex Pereira. I'm looking at someone who has been extremely active, winning by knockout, stepping up all the time. Sean hasn't been overly active. And this isn't me knocking him, right? Like, he goes from knocking out Aljo. And like you said, he went from fighting number 15 to fighting number 2, 3, 1, whatever Petr Yan was.
Yeah.
I also thought he lost that fight. But even if he lost, in my opinion, his stock would have went up.
Yeah, 100%.
Performance. I actually think he would have gotten more respect had he got the loss in a fight that we all thought he lost. But then he goes back and he fights Cheeto, right? And Cheeto
that's not his thing.
I understand.
UFC's.
But here's my thing, though. I think if Sean would have said, I wanted to fight Henry Cejudo or a bigger name, I don't think the UFC would have had a problem with it. And Cheeto's on a 1-fight win streak. I'm just saying, for Sean to match his optics of the superstardom, which we all think he is or will he'll get to, I think it starts with this. I think this is the main event of this ridiculous spectacle. I mean, ridiculous, like how it's so over the top. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be pure cinema. If he goes out there and gets that Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje moment, or that Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill moment, now we're talking superstar, right? Because then if he goes out there and does it, in my opinion, the biggest thing he could do is repeat the call out of Ilya Topuria. It won't happen, right? But if imagine he got that fight and goes to Spain, that's a win-win for him financially. He fights Topuria, and if he loses, he's still the champ in his division. He's expected to lose. Sean's not a stupid guy. If he goes out there and he flatlines Merab, he's now that double-A superstar.
I mean, the tougher fight for him is in his own weight class is Umar. I mean, to me, I feel like Umar is just a very well-rounded fighter who can beat him on the ground grappling, who can beat him on the feet as well. He's going to have a hard time with him on the feet. Umar will have a hard time with Sean on the feet, but I think in the wrestling and the grappling department, I don't think it's close at all. I think Umar's control and ability on the ground.
Look, Umar is a whole different demon, right?
Yep.
And I think Merab is good if he wins, is good practice for that, because the difference between Umar and Merab is Merab's pace, is Merab's constant. Umar's not too far behind. Where Umar is better than Merab, it's clear in the striking. Merab's striking is average at best. Not even trying to be a jerk. I think we could all agree. His technique, it's to set up the takedowns, right? Umar's a special fighter. What I was mentioning, Josh, yes, that would probably be a harder fight, but I'm talking about the big money fight, the superstar fight with big reward, low risk for O'Malley. Because if he were to lose, he still gets that Umar fight.
Yeah,
because he's still the champion. But I want to see O'Malley go out there and be the superstar that we all think that he is, and go out there and get a knockout if he's going to do it.
Interesting. I'm looking at look, if Merab is to win this thing in round 1, I mean, sorry, if Merab wins by submission, period, it's plus 1,800.
Yeah,
I mean, his only way for me, I feel like, is to win by submission. I don't know. I don't see how he and decision. Obviously, decision.
Yeah.
I think if Merab wins, it's going to be the way Bilal did it against Leon, but I think Bilal did a really good job in that fight. He was the better striker in that fight too, which was kind of surprising. Merab's not going to be the better striker in this fight. I don't care how tired Sean is. Merab's still not going to throw punches. He'd rather lift Sean up over his shoulder, hold him there for 3 minutes, and then drop him as opposed to beating him that way. So for betting purposes, Merab by decision to me makes the most sense. If you want to spend money and take a shot on something bigger, I mean, look, you never know.
Yeah, by decision, he's plus 165. By decision, Sean O'Malley by decision will be plus 375. And then you've got Sean O'Malley at plus 140 on the KO, TKO or KO. And then the submission is plus 900. So, for me, I love that submission.
He's all about the big odds.
Look, when you start, I'm all about the big odds. But when it comes down to it, you brought up a very good point, though, Ian, was the guillotine. The guillotine, that front rear naked is there all day, pretty much on guys that are just grinding on you and wrestling on you. The guillotine is there as well. He can hit that. Those long, skinny arms get under the chin really well. And look, if he overcommits or leaves himself out of position, the triangle can be there as well. There's so many different ways, like I said in the beginning of this, that Sean O'Malley could win this fight. So if I'm a betting man, which sometimes and the majority of the time I am because I'm stupid, this is what I do. I just beat John all the time and we bet and bet and bet. But I'm looking at, I really believe that there's a good chance that Sean can win this because Merab will come with the intensity like he always does.
Sure.
But I think Sean has a good chance of winning this thing. Like you said, guillotine, rear naked, if he able to rock him and drop him. That front rear naked is also there. And like I said, the triangle with those long limbs. But hey, we're going to find out, man. We're going to find out for sure. Dave, what else you got for us?
Before we move on, let's jump into a little non-MMA odds.
Yeah, what's funny is we had some fun with this last week. We're going to be doing this on a weekly thing. John and I will give out 5 picks, through BetUS. But last week, I think, what'd you have, John, last week? You had...
I ended up 3-2.
Yeah, you ended up 3-2. So you had Packers with the +3.
Yeah, my quarterback
the Eagles.
went down.
Your quarter went down with like a minute or two left.
He
don't
went
give
down,
me that.
dude. They lost.
You lost
2 points.
Okay, you lost. Okay, so Steelers at plus over the Falcons plus 3. Bears over the Titans minus 4.5. Check on that, by the way. Colts, Texans plus 1.5, and the Chargers Raiders minus 3 over the Raiders. Yeah, I mean, pretty much it just came down to
always go against the Raiders.
What's that?
I said,
man, I felt bad for the Raiders. I felt bad for the Raiders, man. I was hoping big things for him and through Antonio Pierce. But I guess for last week's picks, John, just go ahead and say it. Who go ahead.
You're leading.
I'm leading. Yes, I am leading.
Yeah,
I am leading.
Not winning, dude. 4
out of my 5 picks I landed, and you, I am. I'm winning.
You're winning, not you're leading.
No, I'm leading. I'm winning though too. I'm winning today. Today I've won today. I've won this weekend.
Ian,
okay.
you need to tell this guy the ins and outs of actually wagering that you don't look for the short little spurt. You look for
just
the long
because you
haul.
two work together for
Okay?
Bellator,
because you know why?
Because
You know why we work together?
Okay,
Because they take people with higher IQs and put them together.
This is obviously not true. This is obviously not true.
Look,
Well,
here's what
it
I'll
is with
say.
Ian.
Getting the win in week 1 in the NFL is like, yay, because you got just 17 more weeks. This might mean nothing by the time week 3. I will tell you this though, getting a lead in this is important because even based on this Sunday with the NFL, look, you had teams like the Bengals that should have won by 30. They lost outright. The Falcons supposed to be one of the bigger teams. They lost to a team in Pittsburgh that didn't even know what quarterback was going to start. So, I mean, look, and then you had people thinking that the Jets were going to beat the 49ers even without CMC, which is kind of laughable when Aaron Rodgers has been doing more ayahuasca than throwing footballs in the last 2 years. So, look.
Hey, hold it. You know, you might get Joe Rogan saying something about that could really help Aaron Rodgers.
It really helped. Look, with football is a really tough sport to bet. Week 3 is one of the ones that are really scary. Week 1, you learn a lot, so you think. But then watch next week, the Bengals are going to go and win whoever they're playing.
KC.
Oh, never mind. They're going to lose that game too. I lied about what you said. I got KC. I get KC anytime they're on prime time, anytime the refs are going like this.
Oh gosh, let's not start with all that action.
I'm a big Mahomes fan. I love what they did with Xavier Worthy. That was cool to see him get it in. But let's call what it is. Some of those calls on the offensive line were not even on both sides. Just saying.
Brady's gone. They need a star. And guess who stepped in? You know, Mahomes thought, you know what? I'm doing really well right now. Let me just step up. You know, let me bring my boy Kelsey with me and his girlfriend Taylor Swift, and let's just make this thing rise to the top.
Travis Kelsey got my haircut, and he had a really bad game. I drafted him in fantasy football. He let me down. It was terrible.
He'll be all right.
It's all because of the haircut, and that was Taylor Swift's fault. That's where I'm going.
God.
All right, hey guys, I'm gonna run through our picks for this week on the NFL, and then we're gonna jump back into the UFC. But right now, John's got the Chiefs over the Bengals. Go ahead.
When we do this, I want Ian's input on this because I'm only going with the experts now. I don't want to listen to you.
Well, you should have listened to me.
Why don't you tell? Why don't you tell me who John picked, and I will say if I agree or not.
Okay. So he picked the Chiefs over the Bengals at -6. Okay, and then Lions over the Bucks at -6.
It's a tough one, but it's in Detroit.
Yep.
He's almost let that game go. Lions at home should be able to do this. That's going to be close, that game.
Cowboys versus Saints, and that is -6.5.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys at home. If Dak doesn't play like an idiot, that offense is so explosive.
Rams over the Cardinals at even.
Oh, love the Rams in that spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got Steelers over the Broncos at -3.
They should win that game. Bo Nix played atrocious, and Justin Fields, man, I thought Fields caught a bad hand in Chicago. Look what happens when you put some weapons in front of the kid.
Low.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm just going like I wasn't sure what they were going to do, and then I watched him and I'm like, this kid can play.
No, dude, he's got some serious skills. It's just
he's good.
Dude, with the NFL, the hardest thing is no matter how good these quarterbacks are, when you go from the college to the NFL and you don't have a good offensive line. I mean, think about all the teams.
Go ahead and say that again so Josh understands about the big people.
Yeah, when you got a bad offensive line, doesn't matter if you're the best quarterback out of college, you're going to suck. Look what happened to David Carr. I mean, Peyton Manning, his first season, threw the most interceptions in NFL history. It's tough, man. Caleb Williams, if it wasn't for his defense and special teams, that would have been one of the worst starts in history for #1 overall.
We made it to the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl with the shittiest line in the league. Okay, let's not forget that.
Who was your quarterback when you did that?
Yeah. Now that it's all up to the quarterback. I thought it was about the big people.
That's not what I'm
right
saying.
There,
I'm asking you a question. Who was the quarterback?
Mahomes.
And what year? What year was he?
And
That was
who was his receiver
year
and who was
3 or
his running
4? Year
back?
3 or 4? Year 3
Right,
or
he was
4?
in year 3 or 4. He wasn't a rookie. He had Kelsey,
Oh,
Tyreek
stop.
Hill.
You guys are making excuses, man.
I like the Chiefs. I'm not knocking on that. I'm just saying.
Both you guys go back to PFL okay? Go back over there and sell your bullshit. All right, guys. Look,
Wait, did I not see you doing interviews for the PFL card? I'm very confused.
Come over here, buddy. Listen to my picks, buddy. Washington. I got Washington over the Giants at 2.5. And then I've got Niners over Minnesota at 5.5.
Yes.
Yep.
I've got the Colts over the Packers 3.5.
I'm not too sure about that one.
Love's out
because of the quarterback. I know
he's out for the next.
Because the quarterback.
And then Buffalo. Buffalo. I have Buffalo at +1. So I'm actually
Miami
over Miami. It's a tough one, but I'm going to take Buffalo.
It's in Miami.
That was my. I know, but that was my. I went out on a limb. Look, Tyreek Hill's going to be in jail next week, so I'm not worried. Okay, and then I got Houston over the Bears minus at 7.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Like that one. I do too. I think the Texans are such a dark horse of a team. They're so good.
Are they really a dark horse though? Because they're pretty damn good, man. Yeah, they were good last year. They played well last year. They just solidified with some really good talent on the offseason. I think they're ready to be Super Bowl contenders this year.
You know what it is? I think when you have a guy like CJ Stroud who overperformed in year 1, if he doesn't perform like that, they're going to say, oh, did he regress, right? Because he didn't look great in this first game. They also got a guy in Joe Mixon that was a huge upgraded running back. They're still trying to figure out what to do with him. I think the Texans have the potential to really be contenders.
Well, there's always that sophomore slump for quarterbacks that come in, rookie year, then sophomore year. There's that. And then, I think that, like you said, they have the running game now. That's exactly where they're at. Their head coach is phenomenal, man. He's a great coach. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they excel this year. Hopefully they don't beat my Chiefs in the playoffs, but I think they're going to end up getting there. They'll make a good run. They'll probably lose in the championship game again. Yeah, we'll take care of them. All right, hey, let's go ahead and jump right back into the UFC. Let's go right to the co-main event. What do you got for us, Dave?
Let's hop in. Yeah.
Hop.
Go ahead.
Hopping.
John, who's the co-main event on this?
Come on, it's Alexa Grasso.
Sorry, I'm not pulling it up, man.
What is wrong with you, man?
You can't see it, Josh?
I
can't see it.
Oh, it's on the screen.
No, I know. You see how small it is? That's why I have glasses.
Oh.
Look, Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko for the third time. And this is one of those ones, Ian, I don't know how you look at this, but it's almost mathematical when you have a former champion facing a current champion that is a younger champion. It's like 85% of the time they win. It's like, how does anyone go against Alexa Grasso in this? And I'm not saying that Valentina Shevchenko wasn't a great champion. She was, but she found that person that gives her problems in the cage. Yep. Yes. It wasn't. It wasn't.
The question for me is, does Valentina not make a third mistake? Is she going to utilize the wrestling? She's a better wrestler than Alexa. Alexa's jiu-jitsu has improved tremendously, as we've seen. But if she takes top control, she's not going to sub her off her back. I think this fight is going to go the same way the first two went. I think you're going to see someone's going to be up 2-1, and then it's just going to be out who makes that first mistake. I think this fight's going bell to bell. I don't think we're going to see a finish in this one, but I can't imagine Valentina making just another drastic mistake and blowing it, because that's really what happened 2 times in a row. I think Grasso's team has gotten better. Maybe that makes her better with the explosion of Diego Lopez. You have that type of environment around you. We don't really know who else Valentina trains with other than her sister. And I don't really want to say too much bad about Valentina because I'm convinced she's a spy and I'm afraid of her.
She's phenomenal. I mean, for how long was she? You could take a look and say she was the pound for pound best female fighter out there.
Easily.
It's very possible. But I mean, it hurt you take a look at her fights against Amanda Nunes. I did one of them. It's like you could have picked her to win the fight. She's that good.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me that Alexa Grasso now, and confidence is everything. When you're the champion, there's that percentage that you're a little bit better. And she knows I can be in there. I can be in any situation with her. That to me creates a problem for Valentina.
I think for the UFC and for the division, they probably want Alexa Grasso to win, so you can start seeing some fresh matchups.
Hold it, El Noche.
Yeah, especially with doing it this way, right? And I think on another show I did, someone said, "Oh my God, what happens if we get a fourth fight?" The only way we get a fourth fight is if Valentina wins by split decision. Which, Josh, you could probably go to the book. There's probably a bet on that. I don't think that's a terrible bet either. Taking either one of them to win by split or the fight ending in split decision. If that happens, we probably will see a quadrilogy. But John, I agree with you. When you look at this fight, you got to find those little tidbits, those nuggets, and it could be the youth and it could be the confidence of Grasso that just imposes that kryptonite-esque thing on Valentina, and maybe she walks out and still.
Yep.
I mean,
come on, let's hear that logic.
It's tough.
No, like, realistically, like I'm leaning towards Grasso, and in terms of the UFC wanting her to win, absolutely. And it's not just because they're doing it right now on El Noche or whatever it is, right? They're literally doing this because she's the younger, more marketable fighter. Anytime you can tap into the Mexican market, I'm sorry, but that's exactly what they've been trying to do since Tito Ortiz. Oh man, let's sell him as guy can't speak Spanish, but let's sell it as if he can. They've been trying to do this for over 2 decades now. They just can't get it done. This time now they have. I mean, they've had fighters before in the past that were really good at speaking Spanish and really good with their.
Hey Josh, I just want to tell you, Dana will tell you that Tito can't speak English either.
Yeah, this is. I mean, sometimes you get the mic in front of him, he can't. But overall, like she has the look. She's probably one of the most marketable Hispanic fighters you could possibly put your money behind. And of course, they want her to win. I mean, but I'm looking at this though right now at BetUS though. There, Ian, Valentina Shevchenko is a plus 115. Alexa Grasso to minus 145. Obviously, the over is exactly where they're at minus 200 on the over. I haven't looked up yet whether it's a split decision, but I would agree with you. If there's a split decision out there that can be made on the bet, I'm probably taking that, because if it does go the distance, which I believe it will probably end up being a split decision.
Yeah, first round or two may also not be overly exciting. I think you're going to see Valentina either shooting quickly or stay back and bounce around. We saw between the two, you would have thought Valentina would have had the power, but Grasso's been the one who's been landing the harder shots, which is crazy. It just shows, because she also started off at a weight class lower, and now she's in this class. The power's landing. She dropped Valentina. Her English, by the way, is very good. She's done a ton of interviews. So to your point, the fact that she could speak both is tremendous for her. And I think it would be nice for someone like Grasso to win, get some fresh matchups in there. But look, Valentina, it's just so hard, right? Because when you look at these, I'm telling you, if you go back and watch those fights, she was looking good. She was great. She just found someone that has a style that can take the damage, deliver it, who's got that Mexican fighting spirit, and goes balls to the wall. I think this fight will probably be more exciting than the main event after round one.
John, you can speak on this. I know Ian can as well, but I'm saying, like, if you guys go back and watch and spar with guys that are, say, boxers, just straight boxers, their power translates so much more different. And Alexa Grasso is more of a boxing-centric type stand-up fighter. Now, don't get me wrong, she kicks very well, but she is more boxing, and that's why I believe she's got more power than Shevchenko. Now, Shevchenko maybe came down from the upper weight, and now she's been established here for a long period of time, but she's more of a kickboxer. And if you go back and watch a lot of top world-class kickboxers, they don't really have great hands. They don't really have a lot of power. And the ones that did weren't really that great of kickers, and the ones that were great kickers normally didn't have great power in their hands. And what you've got is Shevchenko is one of the best kickers, if not probably the best that's come through this division. And that's exactly what we're seeing, where Alexa Grasso is more of the boxer with more power, and Shevchenko is more of like a technician that mixes it up very well, but doesn't have a lot of power in her hands.
That's an interesting thing, right? Because then you see guys like Alex Pereira who have the power of Thanos as a kickboxer. But he sneezes on you, you go to sleep. Yeah. But then you see someone, Israel Adesanya, whose last X amount of fights, you're right, his power is not showing. I think that was a pretty good point you threw out there. And for Valentina, though, she's got to use that lateral movement. Neither one of these women were throwing calf kicks, which since that fight, it feels like they haven't fought in 3 years, right? Yeah. That just becomes so much more popular. I just think that Valentina, where she will have the biggest advantage, is on the offensive wrestling side. If she gets top control, she can keep Grasso down there for an entire round, steal rounds. Just stop throwing the spinning stuff. I don't care how good you are at it. Just for the love of God. You know, when these fighters throw this,
she does the whole ballerina thing at the end. It's ingrained in her.
Do it at the end when it's not a fight. I'm all about the little, you know, whatever she does at the end, right? But when you throw the spinning back and you throw it high and you're throwing yourself off balance, you're just exposing yourself. When you throw the spinning back kick to the solar plex or off to the side, like what we saw Natalia Silva do the night to Jessica Andrade, you're not in danger when you have that distance. But when you step into that spinning back kick, and Josh, you being the more experienced fighter between all of us here, I think you could attest to this. If you miss and you're within range, you're screwed. You're just putting yourself in a position where no good comes out of it. Valentina has enough skills, enough ammo in that toolbox where the spinning should be thrown out the window and leave it to the Xbox game.
Yeah, as soon as you start to see them make that transition to the spin, the best way to defend it is to step in, get right to the back.
Yep.
You know, but then you brought up Chama, right? You brought up Alex Bahia. Like he's mainly boxing though, to be honest. Like he's got great leg kicks. There's no doubt about it. But it's the calf kick that he does all of his work. And if you ever notice, he doesn't kick hard. He just touches you and touches you. He's not loading up. He's not trying to like sit down on it. He's just bam. He's got Flintstone feet, man.
See him kick you at 10%. You tell me it's not hard.
No,
Stop it.
I'm saying that he's got the Flintstone feet. Like I don't know what they are, but people are talking about how they've got to evaluate what he's doing because when he does it so slow and he just barely touches you. There was
but it has power and it definitely hurts.
Who was the actor? Was it Michael J. White? I think it was. That did that whole thing like, okay, go ahead and block my punch. Oh, and he like did it fast, and the guy blocked it. And he goes, okay,
that was Kimbo.
Okay, Kim. And then he goes, okay, now block my punch. And he goes, yes, and he hits him. It's just he doesn't have to set it up because it doesn't look like it's gonna hurt. The next you know, you can't walk. So good for him, man. He's a stud. Look, I'm gonna go with Grasso on this on the -145. I'm probably gonna take the over at the -200, and I would probably take your advice on the saying it's gonna be a split decision.
Imagine, oh my God, if this thing goes to a fourth time, the rest of the division is.
I'm not watching this thing for a fourth time. I just refuse to. I really refuse to. And the other thing too that turned me off about this is I was on the Shevchenko bandwagon, and then she started being a whiny ass like you would not believe after the first fight, then the second fight, and all this other. I was like, what happened to you? Like we see this all the time. It's like.
Yeah. I'll leave you with this one. I was told originally she was not going to fight at the Sphere because she didn't want to give Grasso the advantage. Fandom. She thought it was unfair. So they were going to do Grasso versus Manon Fior, and they were going to move on. And then Valentina, I guess someone told her the fight's not in Mexico. You know, like it's still in Las Vegas. You can call whatever day you want.
Well, isn't it called the Riyadh Storm or the Riyadh?
It's like sponsored by Riyadh.
Wow.
But El Noche for Mexican Independence Day. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Next fight. Yes.
On the ground. They match up well there. Brian Ortega, I've known forever. And he's just one of those guys that, man, he's kind of got that Josh Thomson thing. He's good looking. And, you know, he kind of knows he's good looking.
I was good looking.
Yeah, I was. But, man, you talk about toughness. I'm being honest. Brian is a dog that will never quit. And Diego Lopez he's good. But he's never faced someone in the fashion. The closest I will say is Dan Ige. He obviously fought like Evolov, who's good. Dan Ige is a dog. So is Brian Ortega. And so, I'll give him credit, but he was getting tired and slowing down, with Dan Ige. This is an intriguing fight. I love this matchup. I think it's fantastic. And I cannot believe that right now Brian Ortega is a +145. Really? Based on what? Talk to me. Dude, hold it. Did you hear Chael?
Oh,
Merab.
jeez.
Not to believe
It was so it's so embarrassing.
Piera.
Oh, here it is.
200 shots you were talking about earlier, it's going to be a big problem for Dishalavili. You know what I think? Oh my God.
Oh my God. DC goes, what was that?
I'm pretty sure Chael being
do you-
Chael doing it on purpose.
Beasley?
Oh, so good.
What the?
Here's what I'll tell you though. When he took on Evalaev, that was on like 4 days or 5 days notice,
Yeah.
and he almost got like 3 different arm bars, pushed him to the brink. So I give Lopez a lot of credit for that. And then he's really worked his way up, right? Taking on Ige after doing like 6 different weight cuts on short notice.
Yep.
He was getting tired in a 5-round fight on that particular day. Dan Ige probably wins rounds 3, 4, and 5 and gets a decision. I don't even question that. Here's my concern for Brian Ortega. Granted, John, you are right. That is as a dog gets, okay? If you don't, listen, you're not going to out-heart Brian Ortega. It doesn't happen. You got to kill him to literally kill him.
Yep.
Okay? But here's my concern. When Ortega, prior to that fight, he was supposed to fight on this card at 155, okay? He said that even if I win at 45, I'm not going to fight for a title for 2 years. What's the point? Plus, we all know he's a big 45er. That weight cut is tough. He never looks good on the scale. Granted, he fights through it. He missed weight by 6 pounds for this fight. So I was shocked that had he weighed in, pardon me, he would have missed it by 6. That's why they stopped it.
Yeah.
So why is he still doing this fight at 45 when he could have still fought on this card at 55, maybe against a Josh Emmett? I was told that there was rumors of him fighting Charles Oliveira, which that would have been
a
nasty
great
fight. 55. For Diego Lopez, I find it weird that he went through all of that and his reward is he's getting the same fight against someone that I'm concerned who might not make weight. I am a little concerned that Ortega gets on that scale and possibly misses and we go through a whole thing again. So I'm surprised the UFC is willing to take that risk without a backup. But here's why I think Lopez should be the bigger favorite besides all that. On the feet, he carries the power. Striking-wise, he may be, I don't know if he's as technical as Brian. Brian has a really good jab. But on the ground, we're talking Diego Lopez, world champion in jiu-jitsu. Ortega's not a world champion in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He may have a world champion guillotine, but on the ground, he's not submitting Diego Lopez unless he can get a hold of that beautiful mane of his and use that to choke him, right? I think Lopez just has him everywhere. If Ortega can survive an early onslaught, tire him out, but only being 3 rounds. I think Lopez is a dangerous 3-round fighter. If this was 5 rounds, whole different ball game. I think Lopez is truly a star. I don't know if Ortega, I don't want to say doesn't care because that's just not who he is. But I think that his mind mentally is like, all right, even if I lose this, I'll get a fight at 55. I just win that because of name, because of lack of depth in that division, because of recycled contenders. He could pop in and fight someone like a Dan Hooker right away, you know? So it's an interesting fight. I don't think Ortega really wanted this matchup again. I think he wanted to fight at Noche. I think Diego Lopez, though, is a future champion. I really don't even question that.
Interesting. John, like what's your take on what Ian just said? I mean, just spitting nonsense, I think, right now. But go ahead.
A big word salad right there.
First off, I agree with a lot of it, what he's saying. When it comes to the whole world champion in jiu-jitsu, they match up. They're even. And when I'm saying that, knowing the people that I've watched Brian Ortega with, and how I've watched. So, you know, when you're talking a gi and then no gi, completely different. You just you cannot just sit there and put it. It's like, you know, I can put Gordon Ryan in a gi, and I know guys that can sit there and slow him down and absolutely be with him. But then put him with no gi, guess what happens? He beats everybody. And so it's just a different world. I look at what you're saying with Diego Lopez, and I do agree with you. And I've said this with Josh. Look, I think this kid's going to be a champion someday. He's got that it factor. And he goes for it and fights, and he's exciting. And it's like you talked about with the Evaloev fight. You know, he took that on, I believe, 3 days' notice.
Yeah.
You know, and that was an incredible performance against an unbeaten fighter who he actually went after. He was going after him. But I look at Diego Lopez is going to be looking at a guy across the ring from him that he knows he's got respect for, and he knows that guy's never been knocked out. That guy's never been stopped. that guy, other than a dislocated shoulder against the guy who he then went and destroyed, that's his only stoppage. And so Diego's going to be like, I don't know if I can stop him. Now I want to try to just beat him. I want to try to get rounds on him. You do that with Brian, you're going to make a mistake because he is very good with his stand-up now. It's sharp. And I do think that his stand-up is actually cleaner than Diego's. And so that's just where I look and go at 145. Maybe I have too much of that, that fatherly thing with Brian since I've known him forever, but I just can't look at giving away that much when I got that good a fighter.
It's tough. I agree with you. I think he's the cleaner striker. Ortega's also been rocked in his last 3 fights early on, against Yair Rodriguez. Rodriguez gassed out. And look, I think we could all agree here. Yair Rodriguez is probably like a little bit above a white belt in jiu-jitsu against someone like Ortega. Once Ortega got on top of him or had any type of position, you knew it was over. I don't know if Ortega is going to be able to recover again against someone with the power of Lopez, which is crazy. Yeah. Which is tough to say too, right? Because Ortega's never been knocked out.
Alexander Volkanovski wasn't able to do it. Max Holloway wasn't able to do it. And look, I'm being honest. I thought the Max Holloway fight should have been stopped.
It definitely should have been stopped. I think the refs had the over in that fight. I'm
being honest. You don't get a whole lot of 10-7 rounds in this sport. There's one.
Like a 10-4. It was so bad. I think Ortega has ways to win. If he can get out of the first round, it can slow Diego down, if that's even a possibility, like Dan Ige did. It's just hard. I don't know what Ortega we're getting at 45 anymore. That's my thing, right? Yeah. It's like he's just that weight cut is a lot. I don't know how motivated he is for this fight because maybe to him, Lopez is not a big stardom name. Diego might be the least popular fighter that Ortega's possibly fought in the last 10 years too. I don't know if that plays into motivation for him. It's still a fight at the end of the day. So I think this is going to tell us a lot about where Ortega sits in this division, particularly because to close on this, if he goes out and loses and they throw him at 55, say he goes and fights a Drew Dober and wins by submission in the first round, Ortega gets that popularity back, have him fight Paddy Pimblett. How do you like that?
They ain't going to do that. But look, I'm looking, with Diego Lopez is a minus 175. Brian Ortega is a plus 145. The over on it is 2.5 at minus 125, and the under is minus 105. I mean, the over on 2.5 is not bad. I'm actually, because Brian's going to take a lot of damage before he's, if he does take some damage, and I think he will. But I also think, though, too, after watching Lopez's last fight, he will slow down. And having to deal with guys, because Danny Ige is not a big guy. He's not big for 145. Diego Lopez is. So is Brian Ortega. Has Diego had to fight somebody of the size of Brian Ortega? Has he had to be in that clinch with someone that's like his height? Like if Diego drops his head down, will he get guillotined? Will he be? Now I understand what you're saying. Jiu-jitsu wise, I get it, but it's different when there's strikes coming at your head. There's difference when there's elbows coming in. You put your head in places to avoid those, and next thing you know, you're getting choked. I do agree with you. I think both of them on the ground is going to be like basically just neutral. It's going to cancel each other out. But on the feet, Diego's, I think, going to be the faster, more quick, probably even have more power than Brian Ortega. But can he handle the pressure and fight off of his back foot? Because we saw that he couldn't handle the pressure against Danny Ige. He started getting real tired. And Dan, like I said, really just kind of came out and wasn't like over pressuring him, but he was walking forward and making him. And that's what Brian Ortega does very well. And he's long. He's going to be able to strike from long range, the long jab, the long combinations, the uppercuts, all those things. He'll be able to land. And will Diego Lopez be able to handle that? Fighting off the back foot and having to deal with someone who's long and just walking forward. And even when Brian was getting his butt kicked against Max Holloway and was taking big shots, he was still trying to fight and walk forward. That's going to be, I think, where I want to know, has Diego mentally been able to flip that switch? Because we keep bringing up Evolov. The Evolov fight, you have nothing to lose, man. You're coming on in 4 or 5 days' notice. All you have to do is come in and have a good showing. He had a fantastic showing. Fantastic. But like now all of a sudden, every win counts, every loss drops you significantly. You're working your way back. There's a lot more pressure on this fight than there was for any of the fights he had in the past. The Danny Ige fight, there was pressure, but it's like, look, there's ways I can beat this guy. Dan's, lower in the rankings, but look, guy stepped up and fought. I should be able to out-cardio him. I should be able to outbeat him. Brian Ortega, it does scare me, though, if he doesn't make weight. That's one. The other thing I didn't know this, that he was planning on going to 55. And then I did remember him saying that he was going to go to 55, but I didn't know it was actually in the works of him going there. So now I do agree with you, though, in some of this. How mentally is he checked in? Because we know when it comes down to the mentality of, all right, look, let me just get this fight over with. Let me make my way on up, to 55 where I was going to go anyways. 1 foot out the door, whether it be 1 foot out the door going to another promotion or 1 foot out the door going to another weight class. It's the same thing. And that's what scares me. You brought that up, and that's automatically, I was like, man, I was all in on Brian Ortega at plus 145. Now you got me a little shaky.
And I'll answer. I think the only other guy that Lopez fought size-wise, striker-wise, that he was maybe at a disadvantage was Sadiq Youssef. Youssef is a very good kickboxer. He's on the bigger side. He has reach, and Diego floored him with the striking. So we know the power is there. But everything you guys are saying is also true. Look, this is no disrespect to Brian Ortega. We know. I don't even think we've seen the best Brian Ortega yet, right?
I agree.
The best guillotine version of Brian Ortega. We've seen, him knocking out Frankie Edgar. And then we've seen him get the crap kicked out of him, come back and beat Yair Rodriguez. The one thing we haven't seen yet was a pure dominant performance from head to toe from Brian Ortega over anybody yet, where he didn't have to either come back, take the damage. And my concern for him is if he's fighting Diego Lopez, he has to listen. When we're talking about the back foot and everything, that means he's getting past round one, right? Look, there's a lot of factors here. John, I agree with you. To me, this is the biggest question mark fight in a good way because is it the changing of the guard? Are we getting the new version of Brian Ortega here with, you got the hair thing going for both guys. Both got Pantene Pro V commercial endorsements, right? So it's it'll be interesting to see. But I do think that if Ortega loses, he's got plenty of fights at 55 where he could have a resurgence in his career. And if that motivates him, I hope we see that.
The Charles Oliveira fight just jumps onto the screen at me, man.
Right? I'd be so
just
sad.
jumps off the paper, man. When you said that fight, I was like, you know what? Just take my money now. I'll prepay for that pay-per-view.
There's like three or four with him I wouldn't mind seeing. Like a Dan Hooker fight, an Oliveira fight, even a Josh. I mean, listen, Josh Emmett, at this weight class. But I mean, Ortega's fun. To me, he's like an Oliveira type, right? You got jiu-jitsu guys who are now throwing caution in the wind, knocking people out. And because he's so big, I think his body would do well at 55.
Yeah. I agree. All right, John, what's next?
Daniel Zellhuber taking on Esteban Ribovics. This is actually, got look at Daniel Zellhuber was 15-1. I think Esteban is 13-1.
Yep.
Both of them are outstanding, but Daniel Zellhuber has been just remarkably good and getting better all the time when watching him. Esteban he's good and he can win this fight, but I lean towards Zellhuber, especially based upon little information I get for how he's doing and stuff. In the gym. He's doing very well. I am biased.
He's biased. Look, Zellhuber's he's a great young prospect. I feel like he's got all the tools and the intangibles to get the job done, but he's a minus 225, plus 185 for however you say his last name, Ribovics. Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, it's a little too steep for my blood on both sides. I'm not going 185 on the underdog, and I'm not going 225 on the favorite. The over-under is at 2.5 at minus 185 on the over, and the plus 155 on the under.
So how do you call this one, Ian?
Yeah.
Is it too steep at 225?
It's a little. I would look towards the method of victory here. I mean, Esteban Ribovics is a very tough guy. He's a dog, another one of those guys who comes forward. Zellhuber's a sniper, very high IQ fighter, rarely makes mistakes. Where he's done poorly is when he's when he's a little too hesitant and not aggressive enough.
True.
That's when he loses. But we saw in his last couple of fights, that's not the case, right? We hear from guys at Extreme Couture, we're hearing from Eric Nixon, we're hearing that Zellhuber can be the real deal. Yeah. He has the skill set. It's just mentally sometimes he gets a little quiet. He gets a little shy in the cage, and that's when you don't see it. I don't mind the under potentially here because Esteban's going to be looking for it, and we now seen that Zellhuber can get it. This is another double method of victory potential where you go Zellhuber to win by TKO, KO, or decision. He's not getting a submission here, in my opinion. I mean, plus money on the under 2.5 does not scare me. I don't mind that number.
It's not too bad. Plus 155 on the under is not too bad at 2.5. I could see myself going there, even if it's like, put down $80, $60, whatever it is, just to throw a little something, just to make it fun.
One of the things I want to say, because I did not know this about Ian. Ian, everything that you pick, that you put on live TV, you're actually betting on.
Yeah, listen, I'm a man for the people, right? I can't.
I'm a man for the people.
I can't do a thing where I'm giving people advice and then not following my own advice. That would be so screwed up, right? I mean, you see a lot of guys that call themselves betting experts and cappers, like, oh yeah, I'm going to do 20 units on the Bengals minus 400 the Patriots. They're not betting that stuff. No. Come on, it's just not how it is. So it's not realistic. So for me, I'll tell you one thing: it's more stressful for me when I'm giving out my picks, whether it's on my show for ESPN or my show for the PFL, losing other people's money than my own. I'm sitting there going like, oh man, we got to win this one. Not even looking at what I threw on it. It's so stressful. I'm like texting John. I'm like, I swear to God, if Carmouche doesn't get this win in round 3, I'm screwed right now. It's thank God they don't show my reaction sometimes. Because especially on like some over-unders, they'll be like, oh, let's go to E and see what's going on right now. The camera pans to me and I'm like,
let me ask you this: as far as when it comes to doing those picks and everything, it's impossible for everyone to come out right, and you're gonna get people that go, "Oh, see, he doesn't know anything."
It's the best.
Do you even listen to that crap, or you just let it go? Like Josh and I have learned to let it go.
Yeah, no, look, Joe Rogan even said in his show, don't read the comments in the YouTube section, right? So what I did was when I first started with ESPN.
Say that again for Josh.
I love the comments, man. I love the comments.
I was the guy that responded. I used to respond.
Oh, that's Josh.
But no one ever thought it was me. They thought I was like a bot. And then they thought some guy goes.
I put my name, Josh motherfucking Thomson.
Mine says Ian Parker MMA. It's on all my social media channels. What's hilarious, though, is that then someone will be like, will defend me. Like, oh, Ian's got a burner account. I'm like, dude, I work for ESPN PFL. You think I have time to create burner accounts to respond to John7639 with his dog as his picture? I'm like, no, and what I've tried to do is it's funny, like, some of these trolls, they're just not even good at trolling anymore. No. There's some guy who loves to post my results and he goes, oh, a bad night for Ian. He went 56% on the main card and 48% on the prelims. And I'm sitting there going, so someone goes to me, hey, is this true? And I wrote, I have no idea because my show, we give out our best bets, which is literally what you should be betting on, our props and our parlays, and then I give leans for every other fight. I literally say on my show, I would lean this way because if you go ahead from a betting standpoint, because John, like you said, you can't win every bet. It's impossible, right? Why the hell would I give out a bet for every fight thinking I'm going to come out in a winning percentage when some of these betting lines, especially with the PFL,
are crazy?
So that's why with the PFL, I'm giving out method of victories. I'm trying to parlay stuff. I gave out a spread, in the the Kraziv fight, -3.5, which that was a crazy win. But now when these guys like to be negative with me and they're like, oh, he got a loss. I'm like, how about the last 4 that I literally picked, what's his face? Ramagazov, who beat Medenfield. I picked round 2 TKO at +550.
Wow.
That hit. But the next fight, I lost an over-under by 3 seconds. Some guy goes, oh, you suck, bro. I'm like, bro, it was a lean.
Yeah.
It was a lean.
I just made you $500 if you followed me, but now you're talking trash.
It's the craziest thing. So I said, so what I'm trying to do is I don't like to respond to the negative. I try to respond to supporters. And I'm transparent. I post the results. Look, it's going to happen with losses. My favorite, though, the ones like, oh, I can't believe he did this. The only time I go back in the comments now, if someone will post, like I think last week someone said, what did I have? I had Ashma's, Ashmuz over Trevor Peak. That was one of my best plays of the night, +110. I covered his fight in the PFL, and I don't think Trevor Peak
he's a stud.
And I don't think Trevor Peak is skilled. I think he's tough, powerful, but he's the same kid that would kick people's asses in the schoolyard in 7th grade by just throwing and swinging, right? But he just doesn't know anything else. Some guy goes up. Ian did this. Let's max bet Trevor Peak. So what I did was, after I went into that conversation, I just posted an emoji of an ear. And nothing else. I love when guys tell me how bad my picks are before the fights happen.
You got to wait till afterwards, guys. Got to wait till afterwards. Let me know. I'm going to wrap you up on this though. Ian is Norma Dumont and Irene Aldana minus 110 Norma Dumont, and then minus 120 Irene Aldana. The over on it is 2.5 at minus 450. I mean, obviously too rich for my blood in that area there, and the under is at plus 325 at 2.5. Aldana, though, is she going to get this thing done?
I don't think so. I love Norma Dumont for every reason you could possibly think of, fighting or not. A big Norma Dumont fan. No, Norma has gotten very good at striking. Her ground game is good. She's physically very strong. Where we've seen Aldana struggle is in the clinch, into the takedowns. Her jiu-jitsu's gotten better. She's a good boxer. She took a lot of damage that last fight. Norma's going to take her down, probably win this one by decision.
Got it. Hey, brother, man, I want to thank you so much. Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else on this?
I love you guys. You two are some of my favorite people in the sport. And I'm not saying that because of being on the here. Josh, you and I go back.
Yes,
John, having this friendship with you over the last 6 months has been an honor. Growing up, watching both you guys and what you've done,
We're the old guys.
You know what? It's funny because some of my friends have grown up with me watching this. They see me doing PFL with you and Josh. They knew you were one of the first fighters when I was sponsoring guys, and people thought that was cool. Although we used to lose tons of money sponsoring. I'll tell you this: the thing that Josh did, and I'll never forget this, against JZ Cavalcante on Strikeforce, who, by the way, I now go to his gym at Deerfield Beach and train at.
Oh, he's a great guy, man. He's a great guy.
Great guy. They got Fat Gene there, who's one of the better prospects in the PFL. Josh literally went like this on the banner where it said Cage Hero, and I was like, "Oh, the guy gets it." Yes. I had other fighters I paid money to who were blocking the logo on the shirt. But no, I love your guys' show. I love what you guys have done for the sport, what you continue to do for the sport. So thank you for that, Josh. Want to see more of you with Bellator and PFL, whatever that may be, whatever role that is. And John, I'll see you for the Battle of the Giants.
Battle of the Giants we're going to be at. But, hey, you are going to be on your way to Vegas for El Noche.
Yes, sir.
Taking part with ESPN there. Have a great time. Thank you for coming on the show. You're always a pleasure to talk to, and I will be texting you soon.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do in Vegas, which means you're free to do whatever the hell
you want.
Dude, I work for Mickey Mouse, dude. I'm as squeaky clean as it gets. And John, my phone's always available for you 24/7. You know that.
Thank you, brother. You take care, and thanks for coming on, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate it, man. Take it easy. Guys. All right, guys, but hey, I want to make sure you guys understand that we are back. We are back on OnlyFans, and I know some of you guys are like, oh, OnlyFans this. Guess what? Demetrius Johnson's on there. Nick Diaz is on there. Luke Rockhold, AJ McKee, Chris Cyborg. They have all started making their way over there now. Look, OnlyFans now is starting to create a sports platform for athletes to go and sell their content or make money off of their content, and it's a good place, man. I mean, being honest. Right now, look, if you don't follow the smut won't show up on your
If you don't follow the smut won't follow you.
That's the best thing. And look, if your wife ever wants to look at it, you go, look, here it is. All I'm following is the athletes. You know, you got Andy Ruiz, who's also a pro boxer on there. Billy Kemper, pro surfers on there. Some of the top prospects, new, either old or new fighters will be making that leap. Obviously, a lot of the other females are on there. I think you got Jessica Penne on there. Kat Zingano's on there. You've got females that are on there. But I'm just throwing it out there that we are there. We'll be doing some live chats over there. Dave, are we doing a live chat over there tonight, or are we gonna try to do one tomorrow?
We were undecided.
Dave is left. He's probably in a bathroom break. All right, guys. I can always tell when he turns his camera off.
Remember that
you guys
couch
can't hear
that
me?
Was off to the side that he was.
You guys can't hear me?
All right, guys. Wait, but that's our OnlyFans. Make sure you guys join us over there. I think we had about 700, 800 subscribers over there. We are back on there. We just inked a new deal with them. Sorry for being away for so long, but we have to go through the contract to begin with. And when we did that, we are the very first podcast they've ever worked with, and we helped them partner up with several other people to get more athletes onto their platform. So I want to thank you guys. Thank OnlyFans for supporting us, and we will be there for another year. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move right into the Bellator and talk a little bit about that.
Yep, we got Lee McCourt against Sarah Collins as the main event. This is going to be over in London, so I believe you can still watch it on HBO Max. Is what
tape
it
delay?
will be on.
Sorry, excuse me.
I haven't been told if it's tape delayed or not, but it should be on Max. But there's a lot of fights, I'll tell you that. They got like 16 fights on this card.
We're not talking about 16 fights, John.
Thank you very much. I don't want to talk about 16 fights.
Good.
I mean, look at the main event. It's two ladies that both come from a judo background. I think Lee McCourt has more fighting experience overall now. She's been in there against good strikers. She's been in there against good grapplers. She's come out on top. She's going to have undefeated challenger in Sarah Collins, but it's a good matchup. I don't think it's a main event.
No, I don't think it is either. Leah obviously kind of has a pretty good following over that way, but the bottom line is no, I agree with you, John. It's not a main event status fight. Yeah. I could see maybe a co-main under a big name, though. It'd have to be a big name. But look, Sarah Collins, I think, is a really big is a big threat to Leah McCourt.
She is, no doubt about it.
Leah's got a lot better on the feet, more relaxed, not as stiff, flows with the jab. Her jab has been on point as of lately. She's gotten away from like the long, lazy kicks, which was getting her taken down quite a few times, and then being stuck on bottom, taking damage. But Sarah Collins, once this fight hits the ground, I can see Sarah Collins getting the submission or dominating from the top position, whether ground and pound or just working her way to a submission. There's levels to it. Now, I believe Leah McCourt's good at judo. She's got good submissions, but there's just a level on the ground. I think Sarah Collins is the better grappler and the better judo person and the better jiu-jitsu player as well. I think on the feet, Leah's got a good chance. She's got to keep it on the feet. She's got to avoid the long, lazy kicks that will potentially put her on her back and then, eventually lead to, I think, a submission or some sort of finish from the top position by Sarah Collins. She got to stay long with the jabs, stay long with the combinations. If she can knock out Sarah Collins, that'd be her way to victory.
You guys can't hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can now.
That was weird. The chat can hear me
on the
well.
couch. We got it. Sleeping on the couch.
You're sleeping on the couch.
I can always tell when you turn your camera off.
No, my camera is on. The chat could hear me. The chat was like, Dave, we can hear you.
That's it.
Dave over there. All right. Next.
Look, I'm not even gonna go next one. I'm gonna go with the fights that I think that are
perfect.
Entertaining. And Mark Diakase versus Tim Wilde is that's a fun fight. That's a good matchup. Tim Wilde in the stand-up is outstanding. So is Mark. Mark has really kind of upped his game in the wrestling. He might be trying to take Tim Wilde down. That's not going to be easy to do, but that's a great matchup at lightweight right there.
And to me, I think the next fight is a better matchup. Is Archie Kogan versus Sosa.
That's what I say. Those two fights right there. Yep. Those are two of the better fights on that card right there.
Someone's O's going to go in that fight. Archie Kogan being a 10-0 fighter, Sosa being an 11-0 fighter, and Kogan, man, got the wrestling smaller for the weight class at 155 pounds, but he possesses the power. He's aggressive. He can wrestle when he wants to.
Stand up is good.
Good boxing, really good boxing. He's just he's a very well-rounded fighter. I really enjoy watching him.
And it's the fact that he has the ability to put this fight on the mat when he wants. His wrestling is that good that makes me lean towards Archie Kogan getting the win.
Well, John, the other thing too is that, guys that carry that amount of muscle and those guys that throw heavy striking, he's also the guy that doesn't get tired because he trains at altitude.
Yeah.
So that's it. Like him coming in in the middle into the third round, he's not even breathing heavy.
I know.
He's coming in, throwing big punches, keeping his defense tight, landing the hard shots, and he can wrestle anytime he wants to slow the fight down.
Yep.
Any other fights on here you want to talk about?
Nope, we're good.
You said there was a lot of fights. How many?
There is a lot of fights.
Just 10.
I thought they had said. Well, when I first got the card, it was 16.
Jeez,
I was like, dang. Well, you got to figure they canceled Johnny Eblin off of it. They canceled. I think Ross Houston was supposed to be on it. There was a couple of cancels.
I haven't heard that guy's name in a long time,
dude. Not since he went against MVP.
What happened? Where'd he go?
He went away for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, guy to keep an eye out on. I actually like him and enjoy him. He's undefeated, 9-0. Kieran Clark, good grappler, good jiu-jitsu guy, good, decent wrestling. He's got some dog in him.
Tough.
He's a guy that will be there.
Yep.
He's a tough fighter. I don't know who he's fighting. This guy is probably undefeated, unknown fighter. On the Sure Dog thing is what they got listed at. But overall, then Kieran Clark's he's a fun fighter, and always fun to watch. He either takes big shots and come back and submit you, or he's able to control the whole thing and gets to the submission by rounds 1 or 2. So he's a fun fighter to watch. Anything else on here, Dave? What else you got for us?
DJ retired this past weekend. I was going to give you guys a chance to
There
talk
you
on that
go.
before we wrap this up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, go ahead, John.
Well, I just want to say that first off, the fact that, DJ decided to retire, hey, hats off to him. You know when it's the right time, but I'm going to miss you. This is a guy that is as classy as can be in everything he does all the time. He was a incredible competitor when he was in the UFC, winning 10 title fights in a row. Then he ended up going over to 1. He got knocked out in a title match and then came back and got the win against that, took the title. He's just been a winner in everything he does, and he does it with class. He does things the right way. He treats people with respect. Everything that is right in this world in MMA is something that you can look at as a Demetrius Johnson way of doing it. So just an incredible athlete, incredible sportsman, and a beautiful representative for the sport.
Is he on your Mount Rushmore?
Absolutely.
Okay. So who do you've got? You got John Jones, GSP, Demetrius Johnson. Who's your fourth one?
Habib.
Oh, Habib.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Hold it. John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, George St. Pierre, Habib.
Okay. There you go. Hey guys, man. Look, and I also want to say, DJ, man, always a pleasure watching you fight. I'm glad that you wrapped your career. Not for any other reason. The fact that I feel like you weren't getting the publicity and the love that you deserved over in 1. I don't know if it's just because you're fighting in an Asian market, but I would love to see you make a return back to the UFC if you still had it in you. But I also saw that you were part of a brain scan report since 2012, I think is what he said. Yeah. And the doctor's telling him, hey man, you still got everything going for you. And the fact that you're able to retire with your brain cells, unlike Josh Thomson, I got to tip my hat to you, man. What a brilliant career you had. And hey man, I'd love to get you on the show. So if all you listeners can hit him up, tell him that, hey, Big John and I are trying to get on the show. I had Matt Hume's number. I lost it. I've got Rich Franklin's. Maybe I can reach out to Rich to try and get a hold of him. I reached out to him during Instagram or through Instagram. Haven't heard back from him because we don't follow each other. So maybe we got to work on that. But I'd love to have DJ on, man, just to talk about his career and talk about what's next, his next steps. All right, guys. Hey, that's going to wrap us up. And John, go ahead, man. Take us away.
Before we wrap us up, I just want to say one thing. Josh was on the Anik and Florian podcast.
Oh.
And man, you did a really good job. I just want to tell you that. I watched it.
Okay.
I thought you answered things truthfully. It was really nice to see someone that was, very humble as far as where you came from and what you did, the honesty. But you know what? It gave me an idea. It really did. Is I want to interview you on our podcast because I think there's things about you people need to know that they don't know because we haven't put it out there. So one of these times, I'm going to just I'm going to be the interviewer and you're going to be the goddamn guy giving the answers. That
would be interesting. I would definitely enjoy that. Look, we
can do it in reverse.
Let's for sure. We're going to do that. I got so many questions. I want to know how God created dirt. And I know you were around during that time. So I want to figure that out. Look, anytime you have a chance to talk to John Anik and Kenny Florian, I mean, both of them, they think outside the box. Their questions were definitely made me think about the history of where I came from and what I went through to get to these positions. And man, I can't wait to get Kenny Florian on here. I'm going to get in touch with him. We were chatting a little bit about him coming on, and I'm looking forward because I really want to pick Kenny's brain, man. There's a lot of things about Kenny that intrigued me when he was fighting, and he never got the publicity and they never got the love, I should say, the respect he deserved because he always came up a little bit short for the title. But man, to get there repeatedly and just there's so much work, and to quit, never quit on yourself. is something that's it's just not talked about enough. And he never did. He always believed he could do it. And when he believed he didn't have it anymore, he's like, look, it's just time for me to call it a career. Yep. And I respect that about him, man. There's a lot of questions I have for him, and then also chatting with John Anik, man, it's just the voice. The voice just captivates you and just wants you to talk more. So, all right, man. Well, hey guys, I want to thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys subscribe to us. Oh, BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150. BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150. And we want to thank LMNT as well for constantly sponsoring this and consistently sponsoring our podcast. We have re-signed with them as well for the next 6 months. And we really enjoyed their product. I love their product, to be honest. So does my son, and so do all the kids on his teams and all this other stuff. So, but hey, check out their stuff and stay salty, my friends. We will. John, what do we say? We will.
Everyone stay salty. We will, and we will. See you.
See ya.